Next we have Judge Ellen Ceisler.
First, I want to thank again the Pennsylvania for Modern Courts and Philadelphia Bar Association for hosting this. I'm Ellen Ceisler, and I really sincerely appreciate this opportunity to discuss the court, because it's really hard to get the message of how important the courts are throughout the state. So this is really important, a very important public service. Very briefly, I have been a sitting judge in Philadelphia for the last 10 years. I had the honor and privilege and challenge of sitting for several years in a specialized court where we handled nothing but government agency appeals. So that is when I learned about the Commonwealth Court, handling hundreds and hundreds of cases involving appeals from just a wide range of government agencies. So I realized, in all the opinions I had to write to the Commonwealth Court after that, how utterly important this court is and how profoundly it impacts citizens in Pennsylvania. That's why I'm running. For my entire career as an attorney, for the last 30 years, I have been involved in helping people, particularly people at risk, particularly vulnerable people, and a lot of that has been in government and government policy. As a prosecutor, as the independent watchdog or auditor for the Philadelphia Police Department, as an investigative journalist for CBS News in Philadelphia, as the director of the fraud unit for the Philadelphia City Controller's Office, as an advisor to the school district on issues pertaining to discipline. I have worked very closely inside government agencies. I have worked very closely or analyzed major policy and governmental issues, and I am very much interested in these government policy issues, and that's what this court handles. It is the only court like it in the entire United States, and this court utterly fascinates me. This court deals with issues that can affect individuals on a very profound basis, a very direct basis. There's a lot of pro se litigants in the Commonwealth that go before the Commonwealth Court. It also handles major issues that can affect every Pennsylvanian, such as voters' rights and environmental issues. So I think this is a natural progression for my work in trying to help people in government policy and in judging. I can combine all of my interests and talents and passion for this court. All right, well, first, I've been sitting as a judge for 10 years, and I have proven myself to be able to carry an enormous workload. With one law clerk, I've probably written 500 or 600 opinions in the last 10 years, decided thousands of motions. I'm certainly up to the workload of the Commonwealth Court. I also sat almost exactly in the position of a Commonwealth Court judge for those 2 years that I was handling the agency appeals. I was essentially sitting as an appellate judge and wrote hundreds of opinions, about 80 opinions to the Commonwealth Court. So I do understand the jurisdiction of the Commonwealth Court, the complexity of the Commonwealth Court, and the fact of the matter is that I also have in my career analyzed and written extensively on very large government issues. I have analyzed large government bureaucracies and broken down big issues related to government, whether it's law enforcement or the school district or the mental health system or the foster care system. These are all the issues that would go before the Commonwealth Court. And the work that I have done shows an ability to absorb and synthesize and understand complicated issues and to get down to the bottom, get down to the truth of these issues. And that's what the Commonwealth Court has to do, and I'm up to the task. Well, my understanding is the Commonwealth Court has a fairly established policy in terms of when they have argument, where they'll have arguments. So at this point, don't believe I'm in any position to change what's established in the Commonwealth Court. But one thing that I have experienced as a trial judge and handling a lot of opinions for the court and a lot of cases for the Commonwealth Court is first, I think that there should be more published opinions coming from the Commonwealth Court. There's very few published opinions, and both as a judge trying to understand the law and to write opinions, and for attorneys, they have voiced their concerns about it. There's very little precedent. So I think that we should work on getting more published opinions. As somebody who's handled quite a few as a judge who's handled quite a few pro se litigants where their appeals ended up in Commonwealth Court, and I've written opinions, I do find a lot of inconsistencies in the Commonwealth Court and how they handle pro se litigants. I think there should be some more training and standards set in how we evaluate and help these individuals. They're only in 3 areas in the state, and I know it's difficult for litigants to get to these parts of the state. So it might be worthwhile to open up where we have sessions, and not just in the 3 major cities through the state. So those are just some of the things that I've heard and think could be helpful to all litigants.
Ceisler, what questions or what changes would you make?
I really don't know what to add to all of this at this point. If you want to be perfect, I'm not going to waste my 90 seconds. The fact of the matter is I do believe you need to have more oral arguments. I think there should be some latitude and some flexibility to give more time depending on the complexity of the issue. It's very rigid, and I don't know how they can keep it within that, but I guess they train the lawyers somehow. More published opinions, more accessibility around the state to these hearings. So I really, at this point, don't have much more to add. Okay? That is probably one of the most compelling reasons for merit selection, is because we're put in a position of having to run a campaign and to have people vote for us, and the only way to get your name out there is to have the funds to put your name out there. So it's, personally for me, a despicable situation to have to raise money to become a judge, and I think that by its very nature, and I'm not a politician, and so, my staff tells me, Ellen, why do you say that? I'll tell people, if you really think I'm going to be a good judge, you shouldn't give me any money because I'll have to recuse myself. And they don't want me to say that out there. But the fact is, we don't have a choice. I'm uncomfortable with it. If people donate a certain amount to me that, is a lot, there would have to be an automatic recusal because the public perception would be that I couldn't be fair and impartial. There's a certain threshold. Anything below that threshold, and I don't know what that is quite yet, you have to disclose it so that anybody, I don't know how much money it is, you have to disclose it to all the parties, and then you internally, or I internally, will know if I can be fair and impartial. So it's just a sad fact that we have to raise money, and I'm not happy with it. But if I felt that it impacted the public perception of my ability, I would absolutely recuse myself. First of all, I've always, just as a judge, I have surrounded myself with all of my clerks and interns and fellows with people from backgrounds and races and religions and countries of origin. So I've had a very interesting staff around me as a judge. And I think that's very important for me, for my own perspective, for my own growth, for my own understanding and development. So that's what I've done as a sitting judge, and I will continue to do that if I'm elected to the Commonwealth Court. My background as an attorney has been mostly in government policy and auditing, and so I have really been pretty isolated in my profession in the last 30 years, whether it's been as an investigative journalist or the independent auditor for the Philadelphia Police Department, or the director of the Special Investigations Unit for the City Controller's Office, or a prosecutor handling domestic violence cases. The bottom line is I don't have an opportunity to create diversity in the workplace, but I do have the opportunity all the time to treat everybody, no matter who you are, with the same amount of respect and dignity that I would want for myself. So now I insult the moderator right now. The fact is, we get asked that question a lot, and every case is important. Every case that goes before these courts, the Supreme Court and the Commonwealth Court, and I've read a lot of them, and I've written quite a number of them, they're extremely important to the litigants, and they're really extremely important to the case law that they're building upon. So I don't like to boil it down to any specific case, but I can because, I'm asked to do it. The case I'm really waiting for is the education funding case. The Commonwealth Court threw that out on preliminary objections. It's a critical issue for the entire Commonwealth, whether how we fund our schools is constitutional, rational. Commonwealth Court threw it out on preliminary objections, and I'm waiting for the Supreme Court case to hear it. The Commonwealth Court had a number of cases involving the pipelines, and they did not find in favor of the litigants in those cases, the homeowners. The Supreme Court has found that a number of the provisions of the Gas Act, I don't have Act 13, were unconstitutional. the voter ID was originally thrown out by the Commonwealth Court. It was found reversed by the Supreme Court. So, you know, the bottom line is every one of these cases is important, and every one of these cases deserves fair and thorough and careful analysis. Sorry.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Ms. Ceisler.
Mr. Barry did adequately cite the standard of review, and it's pretty well set. And I did handle hundreds of agency appeals for my county, and I understand the standard of review, which is to ensure that the findings of fact by the trial court are supported by substantial evidence, they didn't commit an error of law, or that the trial judge or the court did not have a manifest abuse of discretion. So that is the standard. The important thing for the judge, and particularly at the Commonwealth Court level, is that these agencies are overwhelmed, these boards are overwhelmed, and even the trial judges at the common police level are overwhelmed. So what you need and what you want, since you're almost at the last level of review here, because very few cases are going to make it to the Supreme Court, you're going to want a judge who is going to give each case a careful and thorough review, and that means reviewing the entire record. The briefs, the opinions, the exhibits, the transcripts, the photographs, everything. And really giving it a final review. And for most people, this will be their last chance. So that's what I've done as a trial court judge, and I intend to do that with even more emphasis and more importance, because I understand that there's going to be very little options after that. So again, I'm the only person running who's been an elected judge for 10 years, and I was rated qualified back then. I'm rated qualified now. But the fact that I'm here, the fact that I'm even running for this position, from what I've come from and what I've overcome in my life, for me is pretty remarkable. And I think I'll bring a perspective to the court that no other person running or sitting has. And what most people don't know about me is I grew up under extreme poverty. I had a mother who had 3 children before she was 21 years old. And our father abandoned us, and my mother had little work experience and education, and she tried to raise us on minimum wage jobs, and essentially was not able to raise us on minimum wage jobs. My family lived on the brink of homelessness for years. We didn't have health insurance, and I had a very seriously mentally ill sister who had drug addictions. There was a lot put on my shoulders at an early age. Starting at the age of 14 and 15, I had to go to work to help my mother keep a roof over our heads. I put myself through a community college in Montgomery County. I put myself through Temple undergrad and law school, and I've done it on my own. So I am really amazed and proud of what I've overcome, and I do believe that my background and what I have done with my with my law degree, and how I've helped people over the years, and the organizations and nonprofits that I've been involved in, I think that I'm going to bring the kind of empathy and understanding for everyday people. You keep hearing that this is the people's court. Well, I understand the people, and I will be a good judge on that court. Thank you. Listen, I'm a full-time judge and running for a statewide office. This is not, you have to understand, I am passionate about the issues before the Commonwealth Court. This is a daunting challenge. It is overwhelming, but I truly believe in the importance of this court. I am passionate about the constitutional and governmental policy issues that this court will face. I've had the experience to do a good job, and I also do believe that we need more geographic diversity on this court. This is a government policy court, and there is nobody elected on the bench who's from Philadelphia. And I really do believe we need that large urban perspective. Someone sitting on this court. But I think you've heard enough about my background and my experience that you can understand that I'm qualified, but just know that I'm doing this because I am passionate about protecting all Pennsylvanians and representing our state on this very important court. And thank you for your time.